The iPad notification chimed while I was fixing Jennifer's morning coffee. Steam rose from the mug as I glanced at the screen, expecting her usual real estate alerts or grocery reminders. Instead, I found myself staring at a group chat with her work friends. God, look at me, I'm stuck with him. Can't wait to get out of this dump. The message was time-stamped 3 minutes ago. My wife's profile picture smiled back at me from the screen, that same practiced real estate agent grin she used on clients. Below her message, responses poured in from her colleagues. Girl, you deserve so much better. When are you finally going to leave? That auto shop guy? Seriously, what were you thinking? I set the coffee down carefully, my hand steady despite the earthquake happening inside my chest. 23 years of marriage, and this was how I found out what she really thought. Not through an argument or a tearful confession, but through a group chat left open on our shared tablet. The house felt different suddenly. The kitchen where I'd made her coffee every morning for over 2 decades looked smaller, shabbier. The worn linoleum I'd been meaning to replace, the outdated cabinets I'd promised to refinish someday, the whole modest home that had felt cozy now seemed pathetic through her eyes. I heard her heels clicking down the hallway. Designer shoes on a real estate agent's salary that somehow always exceeded what my auto shop brought in, though she claimed her commissions were modest. Is my coffee ready, honey? Jennifer called out, her voice carrying that fake sweetness she used when she wanted something. Right here, I replied, keeping my tone neutral. She swept into the kitchen wearing a sharp business suit that probably cost more than most people's monthly rent. Her blonde hair was perfectly styled, makeup flawless. At 45, she looked like she'd stepped out of a magazine spread about successful women. Everything about her screamed money and status. Thanks, sweetie. She grabbed the mug without looking at me, already scrolling through her phone. I've got 3 showings today, plus that networking event tonight. Don't wait up. Another networking event. The 3rd this week. I watched her sip the coffee I'd made exactly how she liked it. 2 sugars and a splash of cream, while she typed responses to messages I couldn't see. Jennifer, I said quietly. She didn't look up from her phone. You left your chat open on the iPad. Her fingers froze over the screen. For just a moment, her perfect composure cracked, and I saw something like panic flash across her face. Then the mask slipped back into place. What chat? She set down her phone and reached for the iPad, but I'd already closed it. The one where you told your friends how stuck you are. With me. In this dump. The silence stretched between us like a chasm. Outside, our neighbor started his lawnmower, the sound ridiculously normal for such an abnormal moment. Jennifer's jaw tightened. David, you're taking it out of context. Am I? I leaned against the counter, arms crossed, because it seemed pretty clear. You think you're stuck with me. You want out of our home. You're embarrassed by what I do for a living. That's not... She stopped, seeming to realize that denial would only make it worse. Her expression hardened. Fine. Yes, I said that. But people vent to their friends. It doesn't mean anything. It means everything. She glanced at her expensive watch, a piece of jewelry I'd never seen before. Look, I don't have time for this drama right now. I have clients depending on me. Clients depending on you. I nodded slowly. Right. Well, don't let me keep you from your important work. Something in my tone must have warned her. She studied my face, maybe seeing something there she hadn't noticed before. David, we can talk about this tonight. No, I said calmly. We can't. I walked to our bedroom and pulled out the suitcase from under the bed. Jennifer followed, her heels sharp on the hardwood. What are you doing? What you want me to do? I opened dresser drawers and started packing, getting unstuck. Don't be ridiculous. You can't just leave because of one stupid message. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. I turned to face her. One message? Jennifer, when was the last time you looked at me like you actually wanted to be in the same room? When was the last time we had a conversation that wasn't about your work or your friends or something you needed me to fix? She opened her mouth, then closed it. We both knew the answer. I work hard to provide for us, she said finally. Real estate is demanding. It's not personal. Everything's personal. I folded a shirt and placed it in the suitcase. Especially marriage. Where will you go? I'll figure it out. She stood in the doorway watching me pack, and for a moment I thought she might say something real, something honest, maybe even something that could fix this. Instead, she checked her phone again. I really do have to go. Mrs. Patterson is looking at that colonial on Maple, and she's a serious buyer. I zipped up the suitcase and faced her. Of course she is. Jennifer hesitated, then kissed my cheek, a quick, perfunctory peck that felt like a business transaction. We'll figure this out, she said, but her voice lacked conviction. After she left, I sat in our kitchen drinking the coffee I'd made for myself. The house felt hollow, like a stage set after the actors had gone home. I pulled out my phone and called my business partner, Mike. Hey, can you handle the shop today? Something came up. Everything okay, boss? Just need to take care of some things. I hung up and looked around the kitchen one more time. On the counter sat Jennifer's iPad, still logged into her accounts, still connected to her digital life. I opened it and started reading. The group chat was just the beginning. Jennifer's digital footprint told a story I'd been too trusting to see. Messages dating back months revealed a woman I barely recognized, someone who viewed our marriage as a burden and our home as a prison. David's so clueless, still thinks we're happy. He actually asked if I wanted to go camping this weekend, like I'd waste my time in some dirty tent. I swear, sometimes I think he does it on purpose, leaving his work clothes in the hamper, tracking mud through the house. It's like living with a teenager. Each message felt like a small betrayal, but I kept reading. The responses from her friends were worse. You need to upgrade, girl. Life's too short to settle. My divorce lawyer is amazing. Want his number? I found financial apps I didn't know existed. Credit cards in her name only, with balances that made my stomach clench. Designer purchases, expensive dinners, a gym membership at some place called Elite Fitness that cost more per month than most people's car payments. Elite Fitness. I'd never heard her mention it. The gym's website showed a sleek facility downtown, all glass and chrome. Personal trainers with perfect bodies and bright smiles. I scrolled through their staff page until I found him. Brad Morrison. 28 years old, certified personal trainer and lifestyle coach. Square jaw, perfect teeth, the kind of abs that belonged on magazine covers. His bio mentioned his passion for helping clients transform their lives. I found him in Jennifer's phone contacts, not listed under his name, but as Trainer B. Their text history went back 4 months. Great session today. You're really making progress. Thanks for the motivation. I needed that. You deserve better than what you're settling for. I know, it's complicated. It doesn't have to be. You're amazing, Jennifer. Don't let anyone make you forget that. The messages grew more personal, more intimate. Nothing explicit, but the subtext was clear. This wasn't just about fitness. I closed the iPad and walked to the window. Outside, our neighbor was trimming his hedge, methodically shaping each branch. His movements were precise, purposeful. He knew exactly what he wanted the final result to look like. My phone rang. Jennifer. David, I forgot to mention, I'll be late tonight. Team meeting after the networking event. Team meeting. Yes, we're strategizing for next quarter. Her voice was smooth, practiced. Don't wait up, okay? Sure thing. Are you still upset about this morning? Because we really should talk. I'm fine. I said. Have fun at your meeting. After she hung up, I made a decision. I drove downtown to Elite Fitness. The gym was exactly as advertised. Floor-to-ceiling windows, state-of-the-art equipment, members who looked like they'd stepped off movie sets. I felt underdressed in my jeans and work shirt, but I walked to the front desk anyway. Hi there. The receptionist was young, perky, with the kind of enthusiasm that suggested she'd had too much caffeine. Are you interested in a membership? Actually, I'm looking for Brad Morrison. Is he available? Brad's with a client right now, but he should be free in about 20 minutes. Would you like to wait? I nodded and took a seat in the lounge area. From there, I had a clear view of the main workout floor. It didn't take long to spot him. Brad Morrison was even more impressive in person. He moved with the confidence of someone who'd never doubted his place in the world. His client was a middle-aged woman who hung on his every word, laughing at jokes I couldn't hear. When their session ended, he walked her to the front desk. She signed up for additional sessions, paying with a credit card she pulled from an expensive purse. Brad? The receptionist waved him over. This gentleman wanted to speak with you. He approached with a professional smile and an outstretched hand. Hey there, I'm Brad. Looking to get started on your fitness journey? His grip was firm, confident. Up close, I could see why Jennifer was impressed. He radiated the kind of success and self-assurance that I'd somehow lost over the years. Actually, I said, I wanted to ask you about my wife, Jennifer Thompson. His smile faltered for just a moment. Jennifer? Yeah, she's a great client, really dedicated. I'm sure she is. How long have you been working together? A few months now. She's made incredible progress. I nodded thoughtfully. She mentions you a lot, says you're very motivating. Brad's eyes darted toward the exit, then back to me. That's my job, helping people reach their potential. Their potential. I smiled. That's interesting. What kind of potential do you see in Jennifer? I'm sorry, who did you say you were? Her husband, David. The color drained from his face. For someone who spent his days teaching people about physical strength, he suddenly looked very weak. Listen, Mr. Thompson, I think there might be some misunderstanding. Oh, I don't think there's any misunderstanding. I kept my voice calm, friendly even. I think everything's pretty clear. Brad glanced around the gym, probably hoping for backup or an escape route. The perky receptionist was watching our conversation with obvious curiosity. Maybe we should talk somewhere private, he suggested. Why? We're just discussing fitness, right? My wife's transformation? He swallowed hard. Right. Fitness. I leaned closer, lowering my voice just enough that he had to strain to hear me. Here's the thing, Brad. I know about the texts. I know about the motivation you've been providing. And I know that tonight, when Jennifer tells me she's at a team meeting, she'll actually be with you. His mouth opened and closed like a fish out of water. Now, I continued, you have two choices. You can end whatever this is right now, today, and we can all move on with our lives. Or you can keep playing games with my wife, and I can make your life very complicated. Are you threatening me? I laughed, a sound that made him take a step back. Brad, I fix engines for a living. I understand how things work when they're running smoothly, and I understand what happens when someone throws a wrench into the gears. I handed him my business card. Think about it. You've got until tomorrow to decide. I walked out of the gym, feeling lighter than I had all day. Behind me, I could hear Brad trying to explain to the receptionist that everything was fine. Everything wasn't fine. But for the first time since reading that group chat, I felt like I had some control over the situation. My phone buzzed with a text from Jennifer. Meeting running late, don't wait up, love you. I typed back, have fun with Brad. Then I deleted the message and sent a different one. Love you too. Let the games begin. I spent the evening at Murphy's, the bar where I'd been drinking since before Jennifer and I got married. The owner, Tommy Murphy, had been my friend since high school. If you needed to think through a problem, Murphy's was the place to do it. "You look like someone stole your dog," Tommy said, sliding a beer across the bar. "Worse, someone stole my wife." Tommy raised an eyebrow. He'd known Jennifer almost as long as I had been at our wedding, had watched our marriage slowly transform from something real into something that looked real from the outside. "Want to talk about it?" I told him everything. The group chat, the secret credit cards, Brad, the personal trainer. Tommy listened without interrupting, occasionally refilling my beer. "So what's your plan?" he asked when I finished. "That's what I'm trying to figure out." "You could just confront her. Tell her you know. And then what? She apologizes, promises to change, and we go back to pretending everything's fine?" Tommy shrugged. "Some marriages survive this kind of thing. Not this one." I took a long drink. "You didn't see those messages, Tommy. The contempt. The way she talks about our life together like it's some kind of mistake she made." "So you're getting divorced?" "Probably. But not before she understands what she's throwing away." Tommy gave me a look I'd seen before, usually right before he cut someone off. "David, whatever you're thinking, be smart about it." "I'm always smart." "No, you're usually smart. Right now, you're hurt and angry. That's when smart people do stupid things." I finished my beer and stood up. "Don't worry about me, Tommy. I've got everything under control." The next morning, I called in sick to the shop again and drove to Jennifer's real estate office. Prestige Properties occupied the ground floor of a gleaming downtown building, all glass and marble, and the kind of aggressive success that made normal people feel inadequate. I'd only been there a few times over the years, usually for holiday parties or company events. Jennifer always seemed embarrassed to introduce me to her colleagues, explaining that I worked with my hands in a tone that suggested this was somehow unfortunate. The receptionist recognized me. "Mr. Thompson, how nice to see you. Is Jennifer expecting you?" "It's a surprise," I said. "Is she in?" "She's showing a property right now, but she should be back within the hour. Would you like to wait?" I settled into one of the leather chairs in the waiting area and watched the office operate. Agents in expensive suits moved with purpose, their conversations peppered with terms like market positioning and client cultivation. Everyone looked successful, polished, important. Jennifer's desk was visible from where I sat. It was meticulously organized, decorated with a few carefully chosen personal items. A photo of us from our vacation to Florida 3 years ago, back when she still smiled at me like she meant it. A small plant that somehow managed to look expensive. Business cards arranged in a perfect fan. "David?" I turned to see Melissa Chen, Jennifer's closest friend at the office. She was also her biggest enabler, the one who'd encouraged every complaint and justified every grievance in their group chat. "Melissa, good to see you." She looked nervous, which was interesting. Melissa was usually the picture of confidence, but now she seemed unsure of herself. "Jennifer didn't mention you were stopping by. Like I said, it's a surprise. She's with a client right now, the Patterson showing." I nodded. "So I heard. Big sale?" "Could be. Jennifer's been working on this one for weeks." "I'm sure she has." Melissa shifted her weight from one foot to the other. "Is everything okay? You seem different." "Different how?" "I don't know. More..." She searched for the word. "Present." That was an interesting observation. More present. Maybe because for the first time in years, I was paying attention. "I'm fine, Melissa. Just wanted to surprise my wife." Jennifer walked through the front door 20 minutes later, her phone pressed to her ear. She was in full real estate mode, her voice animated as she discussed contract terms with whoever was on the other end. She spotted me immediately, and I watched her expression cycle through surprise, confusion, and something that might have been fear. "I'll have to call you back," she said into the phone, then approached me with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "David, what are you doing here?" "Thought I'd take you to lunch." "That's sweet, But I'm swamped today. Rain check? I insist. I stood up, noting how several of her colleagues were watching our interaction. You work too hard. You deserve a break. Jennifer glanced around the office, clearly aware of the audience. Okay, but just a quick bite. I have another showing at 2. We walked to a restaurant 2 blocks away, a trendy place that served small portions at large prices. Jennifer ordered a salad that cost more than most people spent on an entire meal. So, she said, once we'd ordered, what's this really about? Can't a husband take his wife to lunch? You've never taken me to lunch? Not once in 23 years? Maybe I should have. She studied my face like she was trying to solve a puzzle. You're acting strange, David. Ever since yesterday morning. Am I? Yes. Usually when you're upset you get quiet and sulky, but this is different. I leaned back in my chair. Maybe I'm tired of being quiet and sulky. What's that supposed to mean? Our food arrived, giving me time to consider my answer. Jennifer picked at her salad while I ate my sandwich, both of us aware that this conversation was heading somewhere neither of us had been before. It means, I said finally, that I'm tired of pretending. Pretending what? That we're happy, that our marriage works, that you respect me. Jennifer set down her fork. David, we talked about this yesterday. People say things when they're frustrated. This isn't about one message, Jennifer. This is about 4 months of messages. This is about credit cards I don't know about and gym memberships that cost more than some people's rent and a personal trainer who thinks he's helping you transform your life. Her face went pale. You went through my phone. You left it open. That's private. We're married. We don't have private. Everyone has private, David. Everyone has thoughts and feelings they don't share. I nodded. You're right, and your private thoughts are that you're stuck with me, that our home is a dump, that I'm an embarrassment. She looked around the restaurant, probably hoping no one was listening. Keep your voice down. Why? Embarrassed to be seen arguing with the auto shop guy? That's not fair. Fair. I laughed, and the sound made her flinch. Jennifer, you've been planning to leave me for months. You've been sharing intimate conversations with another man. You've been lying about where you spend your evenings. And you want to talk about fair? Tears formed in her eyes, but I wasn't sure if they were from guilt or frustration. I never meant for any of this to happen. But it did happen. And now we have to figure out what comes next. She reached across the table and touched my hand. We can fix this, David. We can go to counseling, work through our problems. Can we? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you've already made your choice. What choice? I pulled out my phone and showed her a photo I'd taken outside Elite Fitness the night before. Jennifer and Brad, walking to his car together, her hand on his arm, both of them laughing at some private joke. She stared at the photo for a long moment, then looked up at me with something like resignation. I didn't plan for this to happen, she said quietly. But you're not sorry it did. She didn't answer, which was answer enough. I paid the check and walked her back to her office. At the entrance, she turned to me with tears in her eyes. What happens now? Now, I said, you get to find out what unstuck feels like. I kissed her cheek, the same perfunctory gesture she'd given me the morning before, and walked away. Behind me, I could hear her calling my name, but I didn't turn around. The game was just beginning. I drove to the bank and requested copies of all our financial statements for the past year. What I found there painted a picture of deception that went far deeper than I'd imagined. Jennifer had been systematically moving money from our joint accounts into personal accounts I'd never known existed. Small amounts at first, then larger ones as she grew bolder. The expensive gym membership was just the tip of the iceberg. Designer clothes, jewelry, dinners at restaurants I'd never heard of, weekend trips she'd claimed were work conferences. She'd been living a double life, funded by money we'd saved together for our future. But the real revelation came when I looked at the dates. The financial deception had started almost a year ago, long before she'd met Brad. This wasn't about a midlife crisis or a moment of weakness. This was calculated, planned, systematic. My phone rang. Jennifer. David, we need to talk. I'm listening. Not over the phone. Can you come home? It's your home, Jennifer. I'm just visiting now. A pause. Please, this is important. I found her in our living room, still wearing her business suit, but somehow looking smaller than she had at lunch. She'd been crying, her perfect makeup smudged and imperfect. I ended it, she said as soon as I walked in. With Brad. It's over. I sat down across from her, noting how we now occupied opposite ends of the room like adversaries. Okay? That's it? Just okay? What do you want me to say? I don't know, something, anything. She twisted her hands in her lap. I made a mistake, David. A terrible mistake, but it's over now, and we can move forward. Can we? Yes, if you can forgive me, we can get past this. I pulled out the bank statements and spread them across the coffee table between us. What about these? Jennifer looked at the papers like they were contaminated. What are those? Financial records. Our financial records, showing where our money has been going for the past year. She didn't touch the papers, didn't even lean forward to look at them more closely. She already knew what they showed. I can explain. I'm sure you can. You're very good at explanations. David, please, I know how this looks, but how it looks. I picked up one of the statements. Jennifer, you've moved almost $30,000 into accounts I didn't know existed. Money we saved for our retirement, for emergencies, for our future. And you've spent it on what? Clothes? Dinners? Hotel rooms? It wasn't like that. Then what was it like? She stood up and walked to the window, her back to me. I felt trapped, David, like my life was shrinking every day, like I was disappearing. So, you decided to steal from us. It's not stealing if it's my money, too. It's stealing if you lie about it. She turned to face me, and I saw something in her expression I'd never seen before. Not guilt or shame, but anger, as if I was the one who'd done something wrong. You want to know the truth, David? Fine. Here's the truth. I've been unhappy for years. Years. And you never noticed because you were too busy with your shop and your friends and your simple little life to see that I was suffocating. So, you decided to have an affair. I decided to remember what it felt like to be alive, to be wanted, to be with someone who saw potential in me instead of just taking me for granted. I gathered up the bank statements and stood up. And the money? The money was so I could feel like myself again. So I could buy clothes that made me feel attractive, eat at restaurants that made me feel sophisticated, spend time in places where I belonged. Places where you belonged. I nodded slowly, as opposed to here, with me. Yes. The word came out like a challenge. As opposed to here, in this house that hasn't been updated since the 90s, with a man who thinks dinner at Applebee's is a special occasion. There it was. The truth, finally. Not dressed up in excuses or softened by tears, but raw and honest and brutal. I see. Do you? Because I don't think you do. I don't think you've ever understood who I am or what I need. I walked toward the door, then stopped. You're right, Jennifer. I didn't understand. I thought you were the woman I married, the one who said she loved me for who I was, not what I could become, the one who said she wanted to build a life together, not escape from it. People change, David. Yes, they do. I opened the door. The question is whether they change into someone better or someone worse. I left her standing in our living room, surrounded by the evidence of her betrayal, and drove back to Murphy's. Tommy took one look at my face and poured me a whiskey without being asked. That bad? Worse. I told him about the money, about Jennifer's justifications, about the anger in her voice when she talked about our life together. So what now? Tommy asked. Now I stopped playing defense. Meaning? I finished the whiskey and set the glass down carefully. Meaning it's time for Jennifer to learn what consequences feel like. David, don't worry, Tommy. I'm not going to do anything illegal. But I'm done being the understanding husband who absorbs her anger and accepts her excuses. What are you planning? I smiled, and Tommy took a step back. I'm planning to give my wife exactly what she wants. The charity gala was Jennifer's biggest event of the year. The Prestige Properties team sponsored a table at the annual fundraiser for the Children's Hospital, and Jennifer had been planning her outfit and preparing her networking strategy for months. She'd also been planning to take Brad as her date, according to the text messages I'd found. Even after claiming she'd ended things with him, even after her tearful promises to recommit to our marriage, she was still lying. I bought a ticket to the gala. Not a cheap one, but a premium seat at the head table, right next to the podium where the evening's speakers would address the crowd. The event was held at the city's most exclusive hotel, a gleaming monument to wealth and status that made Jennifer's real estate office look modest. I arrived early, wearing the best suit I owned, and took my seat among the city's elite. Jennifer arrived 20 minutes later on Brad's arm. She wore a dress that cost more than most people's monthly salary, her hair styled in an elaborate updo that had probably required hours of professional attention. She looked stunning, successful, untouchable. She also looked shocked to see me. David? She approached our table with Brad trailing behind her, both of them clearly uncomfortable. What are you doing here? Supporting charity, I said, standing to greet them. Hello, Brad. Nice to see you again. Brad's face flushed red. Mr. Thompson, I thought Jennifer said you two were separated. Did she? I looked at Jennifer with interest. That's news to me. We need to talk, Jennifer said through gritted teeth. Later, the program's about to start. The evening proceeded exactly as these events always did. Speeches about the importance of giving back, testimonials from families who'd benefited from the hospital's services, appeals for donations from people who could afford to be generous. I waited until the final speaker had finished, until the crowd was relaxed and receptive, until Jennifer had begun to believe that maybe I was just there to cause minor embarrassment. Then I stood up. Excuse me, I said, my voice carrying clearly across the room. I'd like to say a few words. The event coordinator looked confused, checking his program for my name. Jennifer's face went white. I'm David Thompson, I continued, walking toward the podium. My wife Jennifer is here tonight with her team from Prestige Properties. I wanted to share something with all of you about the importance of honesty in relationships. David, no. Jennifer half rose from her seat, but Brad pulled her back down, probably not wanting to cause a scene. I reached the podium and adjusted the microphone. The room had gone completely quiet, 300 people sensing that they were about to witness something memorable. 23 years ago, I began, I married a woman who told me she loved me for who I was, not for what I could give her or how I could make her look, but for the man I was inside. I paused, letting that sink in. Over the years, I worked hard to be worthy of that love. I built a business, bought us a home, tried to be the kind of husband she deserved. But somewhere along the way, I stopped being enough. Jennifer was shaking her head, tears streaming down her face. Around the room, people were pulling out their phones, sensing that this was going to be something worth recording. My wife decided she was stuck with me, that our home was a dump, that our life together was something to escape from rather than something to cherish. I pulled out my phone and displayed the bank statements on the room's projection screen. So she started planning her escape. She opened secret accounts and moved our joint savings into them. She spent our retirement money on clothes and dinners and hotel rooms. She told her friends that she deserved better than what she'd settled for. The numbers on the screen were damning, clear evidence of financial deception. Jennifer buried her face in her hands. But the money wasn't the worst part, I continued. The worst part was discovering that the woman I'd loved for over 2 decades saw me as an embarrassment, that she was ashamed of our life together. that she'd been lying to me about where she spent her evenings and who she spent them with. I gestured toward Brad, who looked like he wanted to disappear. Tonight, my wife brought her personal trainer to this charity event. The same man she told me she'd stopped seeing. The same man she's been having an affair with for months. The room erupted in whispers and gasps. Several people were openly recording now, their phones pointed at Jennifer and Brad. "I'm not telling you this for sympathy," I said, raising my voice above the crowd. "I'm telling you this because I want my wife to have exactly what she's been asking for." I pulled out a manila envelope and removed a set of legal documents. "Jennifer, you said you were stuck with me. Well, congratulations. You're not stuck anymore." I held up the divorce papers, signed and notarized. "You said our home was a dump. Good news. It's not your home anymore. I'm keeping it." I held up the property transfer documents. "You said you deserved better than what you settled for. I agree. You deserve someone who lies and cheats and steals from the people who love them. Someone who values appearances over integrity. Someone who thinks love is something you can buy with stolen money." I looked directly at Brad. "You two are perfect for each other." I walked back to Jennifer's table and set the documents in front of her. "The house will be cleaned out by tomorrow. Your belongings will be in storage. The locks will be changed." Jennifer looked up at me with mascara running down her cheeks. "David, please. Not like this." "Exactly like this," I said quietly. "You wanted to be free, Jennifer. You wanted to escape our terrible life together. You wanted everyone to see how much better you could do." I gestured to the room full of people, all of them staring at her with a mixture of shock and judgment. "Well, here's your audience. Show them how much better you can do." I walked toward the exit, then turned back one final time. "Oh, and Jennifer, that money you stole from our joint accounts? I've already filed a police report. Enjoy explaining that to your real estate license board." I left the ballroom to the sound of 300 people talking at once, their voices rising in excitement and scandal. Behind me, I could hear Jennifer sobbing and Brad trying to calm her down. Outside the hotel, I stood in the cool night air and lit a cigarette. My phone was already buzzing with calls and messages, but I ignored them all. For the first time in months, I felt completely calm. Jennifer had wanted to be unstuck. Now she was free to discover what that actually meant. The city lights reflected in the puddles at my feet, neon colors bleeding into the darkness. Somewhere behind me, the charity gala continued, but the evening's real entertainment was over. I took a long drag from my cigarette and smiled. Sometimes the best revenge is simply giving people exactly what they ask for.